scripture along with me as I read it. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff shall comfort me all the days of my life. And then it goes on to say, and I shall live in the house of the Lord forever. Amen? Amen. The scripture reading this morning has been read thousands and thousands upon time. Like today, at funerals and many other occasions. Matter of fact, it's one of the most quoted scriptures in the Bible. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that Psalms 23 is one of the most quoted scriptures in the Bible? I believe that it's because fear is one of our biggest problems as we travel down life's journey. It really is. The word itself, fear, has very little value if you really think about it. Until we internalize it and it becomes part of our behavior, then it has great value. This passage of scripture is also read as a source of comfort to those who are in trouble and to others who have let their faith give way to fear. Today, I want to talk about fear just for a moment. I want to relate it to the story of Abraham to show what can happen when our faith really gives way to fear. You know, fear not needs to reside in the hearts of every Christian because fear can destroy your faith. It really can. Today I want to talk to you about why we need to rid ourselves from fear. Before I make the 4 points that I'm going to make, I want to make it clear that I fully understand there are times when fear is necessary. If a hurricane is announced as it's coming into Mobile, obviously you're going to get prepared, right? You're going to go a little bit afraid and be prepared for the hurricane. If you spend it out in the middle of the highway, obviously you're going to get out on the road, else you're going to get run over. So there are times when we should fear. But what I'm talking about this morning, should we really fear the Lord? Some say that we should never fear the Lord, but let me say this. They say that based upon John chapter 4 verses 18 where it says, let love cast out fear. Well, it depends on the kind of fear you're talking about. Are you talking about the kind of fear that you're afraid that you're going to die and you just stand and you're trembling before God, afraid that you're not going to make it into heaven? That's the wrong kind of fear because we have the great promises, you know, in John 14, beginning in verse 1 through 6, where Jesus says, I've gone to prepare a place for you, that where I am, ye may be also. He has a great promise to each one of us that we will have a home in heaven. Let's look at just 4 of many scriptures concerning fearing God. A little fear of God is always helpful. In Proverbs verses 9 and 10, it says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. I'd like to say one other thing about fear. Yeah, the Hebrew word for fear is actually reverence or respect. And that's the way I want to approach fear this morning with God. As far as reverence and respect is concerned, that is the way I want to approach it. Not a lot of explaining to do here in Proverbs 9 verses 10 where it says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The sentence is a directive stating fear God if you want to be wise. That's what it's saying. Or respect the Lord. Notice what's written in the book of Job. I almost said notice what Job said in Job 1 verses 1. Job didn't write Job. We don't know who wrote Job. However, no one really knows who wrote the book of Job. Nevertheless, it's written in Job chapter 1 and 1. In the land above there lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. Notice what it says. He feared God and shunned evil. So he feared God. He respected God. So we can see one of the characteristics of Job was that he was a God-fearing man. He really was. Then in verses 6 through 8, some angels came to present themselves before the Lord. And Satan came also with them in verses 6. Evidently, Satan had been trying to find someone faithful on the earth. Then God asked Satan a question. In Job 1, verses 8. Have you considered my servant Job? There is none like him. He's blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil. Here we have it again. A man who fears God. So another characteristic of Job was he was blameless. And notice again, it says that he was a man who feared God. In Psalm 147, verses 11, it says that the Lord delights in those who fear him, who put their hope in his unfailing love. Well, the key point I'm trying to make here is sometimes we need to fear for our own protection. Fearing and respecting God is one of those times. Even though there are legitimate fears, there are 4 ways that we can let our faith give way to fear. I want to talk to you about that this morning. First of all, our faith can give way to fear when we sacrifice our most valuable possession. Think about the call of Abraham by God, originally called Abram. Genesis 12, verses 1 through 3, the Lord said to Abram, leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go into a land I'll show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I'll bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and all the people on earth will be blessed. Here's an example of someone whose faith gave way to fear. When the Lord first spoke to Abraham, he gave him clear instructions and unconditional promises, telling him to leave his country, his family, his friends, and even his father's household, and go into a place where he would show him. Now, this had to be a difficult time for Abraham. Can you imagine God coming to you and asking you to leave your home and go into some country that you're totally unfamiliar with? This had to be a very difficult decision for Abraham to make. It really did. It would be a difficult decision for us to make. But Abraham, in obedience, did exactly that. He left his home and went into Canaan. But what happened? But before long, a situation arose that caused him to doubt the Lord. There was a famine in the land, and he became fearful. Genesis 12, verses 10, it says, now there was a famine in the land, and Abraham went to Egypt to live there for a while because the famine was so great. Here's when things started going wrong with Abraham. He was tested with the famine. We remember how God had made promises to him, but he began to fear and take matters into his own hands. Abraham was like 75 years old, 1 year younger than me, when he left Haran and set out for the land of Canaan. But when the famine hit, he left and went to Egypt to live there for a while. He did not stay where God had sent him. And this is the problem with Abraham. He didn't do what God told him. We recall Abraham had a beautiful wife, like my wife is. I have to say that. I'll probably make it home. He had a beautiful wife named Sarah, and as he approached Egypt, out of fear for his life, here's what he told Sarah to do. Notice what he told Sarah to do. In Genesis 12, verses 11 and 13, he said to his wife Sarah, I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, this is my wife. Then they'll kill me, but will let you live. Say you're my sister, so that I will be treated well for your sake, and my life will be spared because of you. Wow. Abraham asked his wife to lie to save his own skin. Brothers, you need to think about that very carefully when I ask you this question. Would you give your wife to another man to save yourself? Think about that. I'm not asking for a show of hands, because I don't want some of you to feel this way. Notice I said some of you. I'm not obviously that I wouldn't be here next week either. Seriously, though, I'm not passing judgment on Abraham whatsoever. And I want to remind us of one very important scripture in the Bible, 2 Timothy 3, verses 16 through 17. It says that all scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness, so that the servant of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work. My point is, this can happen when our faith turns into fear. We are willing to sacrifice our most valuable possession. And that's not what we ever want to do. Number two, sometimes when our faith gives way to fear, we begin to fear man. We really do. In Matthew 10, verses 28, it says, do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather be afraid of one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Remember, the Lord has given grand, far-reaching promises without any expectations or qualifications to Abraham. But in the midst of the famine, he started making his own choices. And before long, one thing led to another, and he began to be fearful. He knew Pharaoh could kill him to get Sarah, her beautiful Sarah, because of her beauty, and because that made him so vulnerable. You know, sometimes we ourselves do things to please men for personal gain or out of fear of losing something valuable to us. But we should always remember what the Lord said. In Matthew 10, verses 28, do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body and hell. Our goal should always be to please God and not men in everything that we do. So our faith gives way to fear when we're willing to sacrifice our most valuable possession, when we began to fear man. Number three, faith gives way to fear sometimes when we forget the promises of God. Again, the Lord had given Abraham grand and far-reaching promises without any exceptions or qualifications. But in the midst of these circumstances, Abraham became afraid, and contrary to God's will, went into Egypt rather than Canaan. One of my favorite scriptures in the entire Bible is found in Isaiah 40, verses 29 through 31, where it says, he gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youth grows tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They'll walk and not be faint. You know what I hear this scripture telling me? I hear the scripture telling me that I have hope in the Lord. I do. I have hope in the Lord when I become discouraged and I feel like giving up. He's always there to pick me up. Even though there are times I drift away from Him, He will always be with me, give me strength to get back up and try again. This is what I hear Him say. Also, when I work so hard to do what is right, He will give me strength to continue on and not grow tired and weary. He helps us to keep on, keep it on, in spite of our weakness. That's what Isaiah 40, verses 29 through 31 says. If Abraham had remembered God's promises, he would have stayed in Canaan where God had sent him. He would have trusted that God would have delivered him from the famine that took place there. What Abraham saw was frightening, so he took it upon himself to go into Egypt. Abraham saw it as a frightening experience, but God saw it as an opportunity for Abraham to put his trust in Him. Abraham probably saw this move to Egypt as just a temporary move. But sometimes even temporary journeys away from home can have devastating results. They really can. When we forget that God is both our provider and our protector, we take things into our own hands. Abraham should have dealt with his fear by staying in Canaan and seeking God's help and protection. That's what he should have done. But that's not what he did do. We often make the same mistake as Abraham. We forget the promise of God and we act out of fear. We all do that sometimes. Then we end up where we shouldn't be, doing what we shouldn't do. Feeling what we should not feel and paying a price we don't have to pay. We've all been there. I have. And I'm sure you have as well. Key point I've made. Faith gives way to fear, number one, when we're willing to sacrifice our most valuable possessions, when we begin to fear man, and when we forget the promises of God. Finally, number four, faith gives way to fear. We're willing to cause harm to others to protect ourselves. Abraham's plan did, in fact, keep the Egyptians from killing him. There's no question about that. It did. But it cost him his wife. Sarah was taken to Pharaoh's house, and in return, Abraham was treated well by Pharaoh. He got something out of it by having his wife lie. And even though Abraham was disobedient to God, and mistreated his wife, he said to himself, God was faithful to his promise. In Genesis 12, verses 16, says he treated Abraham well for her sake. And Abraham acquired sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, men servants and maid servants and camels. So for the short period of time, Abraham did prosper. Notice in Genesis 12, verse 17, what it says. But the Lord inflicted serious diseases upon Pharaoh and his household because of Abraham's wife Sarah. So the Lord took care of this situation. Just shows what can happen if we're disobedient to God. Pharaoh asked Abraham, what have you done to me? Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? And you know the rest of the story. I don't have to tell you. Pharaoh then let Abraham go. You know, we as human beings are sometimes tempted to say something about someone to make our own self look good, or to save our own skin. Or we might even throw a stumbling block before someone for personal gain. You know, that's called malice. That's what malice is. And malice is sin. When we do this, we've let our faith give way to fear. Abraham's story teaches us that God always keeps his promises and warns us not to fear, calls us to lose our trust in him and step out of his good and perfect will. We always need to stay in God's grace by doing his will. May God help each one of us. Never, ever let our faith give way to fear. By being willing to sacrifice our most valuable possessions, being careful of men at the expense of our faith, by forgetting the promises of God, and by hurting someone else to save yourself. There's a lot to be learned from observing mistakes faithful men of God have made in the Bible. But you know what's encouraging to me about all this? What's encouraging to me is to know that God, even though we make mistakes, is faithful to his promise. What a blessing it is to know this truth. It also once again proves the value of both the Old Testament and the New Testament. Remember, all Scripture is valuable. Don't ever forget that. In 2 Timothy 3, verses 16, the New International Version says, all Scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correction, and training in righteousness, so that the servant of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work. Don't ever let anybody convince you otherwise. You remember the Lord's church, that's great. Hope you enjoyed the lesson this morning. Our faith sometimes gives way to fear. If your faith is giving way to fear before you in some way, but if you've never obeyed the gospel, you've never accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Savior by believing in him, be willing to repent of your sins confessing his name before men and been baptized in the fire. The time is now, the water's warm. I'm more and more that the baptize you in the Jesus Christ. You come right now, let's together, let's stand.